In at number 10, Megan Fox. After Megan Fox became a huge star because of the Transformers franchise, she derailed that stardom with one single interview. During a 2009 interview with Wonderland magazine, she called out the director for the movie, Michael Bay, for his behavior on set, saying, quote, "He's like Napoleon and he wants to create this insane, infamous madman reputation. He wants to be like a dictator on his sets, and he is. So he's a nightmare to work for, but when you get him away from set, and he's not in the director mode, I kind of really enjoy his personality because he's so awkward, so hopelessly awkward. He has no social skills at all, and it's endearing to watch him." We know that he treated her badly well on set, but obviously this was not the right way to handle things and got her blacklisted from the business. And of course this got her fired from the third film. Bay ended up addressing the situation with somewhat of an apology, responding to the claim saying, quote, "I know that's just Megan. Megan loves to get a response, and she does it in kind of the wrong way. I'm sorry Megan, I'm sorry I made you work 12 hours, I'm sorry that I'm making you show up on time, movies are not always warm and fuzzy." In at number 9, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise's reputation has taken a dive for many reasons over the years, but one moment that really shocked fans was his interview with Matt Lauer. In the interview, his temper changes dramatically, showing the world that Cruise has a very short fuse. In the 2005 interview, Lauer asked Cruise about his comments criticizing Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants for her postpartum depression. Cruise kept going on that he doesn't agree with her decision, and when asked why, he added, quote, "You don't know the history of psychiatry, I do," along with getting more combative as the conversation went on. That, in part with his sketchy divorce from Katie Holmes, made public opinion of him tank. In at number 8, John Mayer. John Mayer's 2010 interview with Playboy rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because of how crass and just straight up gross that it was. In the interview, he got very candid about his personal life, probably too much so. He spoke about his relationship with Jessica Simpson and Jennifer Aniston, and revealed that he and Simpson had an incredibly physical relationship, and she was like a drug to him. He even spoke about his fanbase and made some strange comments about the fact that a large part of it is black women. He then went on to say he only likes to sleep with white women, in probably the worst language I have ever heard. This interview was seriously so raunchy I can't even include one single quote in this video. In at number 7, the Chainsmokers. This DJ duo did a 2016 interview with Billboard where they tried to give off the impression that they are crazy party boys, but fans just found it super cringy. In the interview, the pair wanted to make it clear that they partied hard each night and enjoyed sleeping with their groupies, even though they both had girlfriends at the time. In the interview, the men said that even before they were famous, getting girls was always their top priority. A direct quote said, like, "Why am I trying to make all this money? I wanted to hook up with hotter girls. I had to date a model." After the interview, the pair were labeled as D-bags with seriously cocky attitudes. After the backlash, the pair went on somewhat of an apology tour and tried to get the public to see that they are not bad guys, they were just joking around. Some joke. In at number 6, Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul had a great public reputation because of her role as a judge on American Idol, but that good reputation went down the pipes after this eyebrow-raising interview. In 2007, she was live on air with Fox to talk about the upcoming season of Idol, but it was derailed almost instantly. In the interview, Paula was nothing like the woman we see on Idol and honestly seemed very drunk. She was slurring her words, behaving erratically, and just acting like a basket case. Paula later denied she was drunk, and a spokesperson claimed that there was a sound issue during the segment. 2 years later, the singer failed to renew her contract with American Idol and soon disappeared into obscurity. Halfway at number 5, Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston is known in the movie world for his roles as Loki and Thor, but once he started dating Taylor Swift, he was exposed to a whole other fan base that was way wilder than he could have ever expected. Shortly after the split, Tom did an interview with GQ where he was asked about the relationship, and surprisingly he answered the questions in a lot of detail. Some even thought it was maybe too much detail. He spoke about the infamous I Heart Taylor Swift shirt he wore at the beach, saying he wanted to cover up a cut, and that was the only shirt he could find. Then he spoke about the attention surrounding the relationship, saying he was totally shocked with the amount of press the relationship received. It's rumored that he even showed up to the reporter's door at 6 AM to clarify some things he said in the interview. He only said kind things about Taylor in the interview, but some felt he might have just been afraid of upsetting her fan base. In at number 4, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was blacklisted from Hollywood after she called out the director of the hit comedy Knocked Up. In a now infamous Vanity Fair interview from 2008, Katherine Heigl slammed director Judd Apatow and called the movie, quote, a little sexist. She went on to talk trash about her character in the film, adding, quote, it paints the woman as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. This incident, along with some other drama with the Grey's Anatomy production, put a huge axe in her career and forced her to apologize. Many years later, Heigl spoke to the Washington Post about being branded as difficult after the comments and blasted the idea that a different opinion made her difficult. She was blacklisted from the industry for a few years, but is back working again and has admitted her past mistakes. And at number 3, Miles Teller. Miles Teller burst onto the Hollywood scene in Damien Chazelle's 2014 Whiplash, which got plenty of critical acclaim. He even got a role in the Divergent series, which got him a lot more exposure. But his career really hit a snag because of a string of really bad interviews. In a 2014 interview with the New York Times, Teller said, quote, "I feel like a lot of actors in my generation are not proper actors. I want to break out of that whole group of actors in their early 20s and really start to put stuff down that lets you know I take this seriously." He even trashed John Cusack after the reporter compared the two of them. Teller said they are similar in some ways, but quote, "I don't want his career." In an interview with Esquire later in 2015, he came off even worse. In this interview, he made the writer cut his food for him and said he is better looking than the public thinks he is. The writer even scorned him in the piece, which she straight up called him a D-bag. And at number 2, Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg is one of those actors that you hope you never have to interview because he seems to make things as difficult as possible. This was the case in 2013 when he did a Univision interview with Romina Puga. Throughout the whole interview, he basically is just putting down the reporter and being pretty darn sassy. It starts when she asked a question about Morgan Freeman and just referred to him as Freeman. Eisenberg replied, quote, "Just Freeman, like you're on a basketball team?" Clearly making fun of her. Then when trying to do a trick, he points out that she has a lot written on her hand, or assuming notes for the interview. Then he starts talking about how Carrot Top is an awful comedian, then saying that she's the Carrot Top of reporters. She responded jokingly that she was gonna cry, then he told her to wait to cry till after the interview. Some think it was all just terrible flirting, but either way, it was pretty cruel. And finally, number 1, Paris Hilton. In this awkward ABC interview from 2011, the interviewer came right out of the gate asking Paris about her unimpressive TV show ratings and how she felt about the Kardashians' rise to fame. Clearly, Paris was not happy with the line of questions and still felt that she was on top, even though the ratings did not reflect this. When asked if Paris felt that Kim was overshadowing her, Paris simply said no. He also asked if her show's low ratings affected her, to which she also replied no. Then before he could even get into the third question, Paris's team stopped the interview and she walked off. At that time, it seemed like the interviewer was saying what we were all thinking, but Paris just didn't want to hear it.
Coming at number 10, Alec Baldwin. Alec had accidentally taken the life of Helena Hutchins, a 42-year-old married mother of 2 and director of photography on the film Rust. The single round that was fired from the prop managed to strike both Hutchins and the movie's director, 48-year-old Joel Souza. According to a witness, the single bullet struck Helena in the body and then pierced Joel's clavicle. Hutchins was then airlifted to the hospital but was later pronounced dead. Joel Souza was also rushed to the hospital but was later released in the evening. According to the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees Local 44, they claimed in an email that the incident was an accidental weapons discharge, and went on to say, "A live single round was accidentally fired on set by the principal actor, hitting both the director of photography, Local 600 member Helena Hutchins, and director Joel Souza. Local 44 has confirmed that the props, set decorations, special effects, and construction departments were staffed by New Mexico crew members. There were no Local 44 members on the call sheet." In at number 9, Travis Scott. The AstroWorld Festival was meant to be a celebration of Travis Scott in his favorite park in Houston. However, this year's celebration turned to tragedy, which turned to the downfall of his career. After proper safety protocols were ignored and Travis egged on a crowd of 50,000 fans to rush the stage, a crowd surge happened which resulted in 10 concert goers losing their life. In addition to that, hundreds more were severely injured, and now there have been 100+ lawsuits filed against Travis Scott, Drake, and Live Nation. One lawsuit is apparently $750 million. That one moment of him ignoring the obvious signs that the crowd was getting out of control led to all of this and truly kicked off the downward trajectory of Travis Scott's career. Coming in number 8, Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner being in attendance at the AstroWorld Festival during all of the mayhem was one thing. However, the single moment that ruined her career in our opinion was when she uploaded a video of an ambulance trying to make its way through the crowd. That video was deleted soon after she realized the severity of the situation, but at that point it was pretty much the beginning of the end. Now she can't really even post anymore on her Instagram without getting some sort of extreme backlash in the comments for just being insensitive. So with that, her Kylie brand will certainly take a hit just from this single moment. In at number 7, Tory Lanez. Canadian rapper Tory Lanez, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, really gained mass popularity throughout the pandemic by constantly doing Instagram live sessions. His show was called Quarantine Radio and featured a ton of content that broke the community guidelines of Instagram. That being said, he was still crowned the quarantine king by his followers. With clout now around his name, we saw him hanging out with the likes of bigger celebrities, people like Kylie Jenner and Megan Thee Stallion, which kind of brings us to why Tory's career was ruined. Megan was in a car with Tory and a member of his security team driving through an LA neighborhood. Apparently an argument took place that resulted in Megan deciding that she was going to get out and walk to where she was staying. However, before she could do so, Tory allegedly shot her in the foot.
Since y'all hoes so worried about it, yes, this Tory shot me. You shot me.
Either way, Meg calling Tory out led to many of his fans finally turning on him. In at number 5, Ashley Simpson. This video still gives me secondhand embarrassment. In the video you can see all of this confusion when Ashley realizes that the track started playing before she even had the microphone up to her face. So then she just awkwardly dances instead. At that point you can't even really salvage the performance. I mean, it's called Saturday Night Live for a reason. So she just did her little dance, said that she was sorry, blamed it on her band for playing the wrong song, and then it was all a quick cut to commercial from there. During an interview several years later, she was asked about this incident, and here's what Ashley had to say.
What happened there was I had a vocal problem. I had two nodes beating against each other, and I woke up and I had no voice. And then I should have said, no, I will not go on. I will not do this.
In at number 4, Jenna Marbles. Jenna had been on YouTube for a very long time, and after multiple videos of hers blew up, she began garnering millions of subscribers, 20 million to be more precise. Although in a video titled A Message, Jenna addressed the controversy of her older content. She apologized for the video that she made impersonating Nicki Minaj in 2011, where she donned blackface and then went on to say,
"It's not my intention to do blackface. I do want to tell you how unbelievably sorry I am if I ever offended you."
In response to the outcry on the internet to have her canceled, Jenna archived the old videos and announced that she would be stepping away from the channel. She said that she doesn't know if it'll be forever, but she does want to make sure that the things that she puts out into the world are at least not hurting anyone. In at number 3, Colleen Ballinger. Colleen has said before that she has always tried to directly engage with her fans, and due to the nature of how open she is about her life sometimes, she often shares maybe too many intimate details with them. Due to her cultivating this very young audience and naming a fan as the head of her fan club, Colleen started being accused of grooming a child. The claim comes after Colleen gave away lingerie during a live stream that she had purchased but never worn.
This was what I was sent. I don't even know, sorry, I don't know which way this goes.
Colleen went on to explain that when taken out of context, she understands why this would make her look like a terrible person. With no context, you just see a 30-year-old woman sending underwear to a 13-year-old fan. A little inappropriate if you ask me. But as Colleen stated in her video, it was just part of the many strange things that she had sent to her fans before. While addressing that part in particular, Colleen said that she doesn't know what she was thinking at the time and realizes just how awful this was to do. Which just goes to show you how much her Miranda Sings character kind of started to affect her real life and the decisions that she was making at that time. In at number 2, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan sadly shares a lot of the same career mistakes as Amanda Bynes, for example. She began her career with the remake of the film The Parent Trap, and as she got older, Lohan was booking more major roles. Her most iconic was probably Mean Girls, but as she shot to even bigger levels of fame from this film, it all started to really affect her. The biggest thing that she did before dropping off was Herbie Fully Loaded, which did not exactly get rave reviews from the critics. By 2007, she was running into some serious problems in her personal life that definitely affected her time in the audition room. That year, she was arrested for driving under the influence as well as possession of cocaine. From there, she continued to have issues with the law, and it severely took a toll on her on-screen performances. She tried to make a comeback in 2013 with the film The Canyons, but because it was her first starring role in a while, you could tell that she was crumbling under the pressure again. When her movie career just wasn't working, she tried to get into the nightclub business and open up a club in Greece, but the last I heard, that closed down as well. I would say the single moment for her that ruined the career, though, was definitely the DUI. Last but certainly least, in our number 1 spot, Michael Richards. Michael Richards is known for his role as Kramer on Seinfeld. I mean, he's funny on that show because he literally had Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David writing for him. Although when the show ended, Kramer thought that he could just transition into stand-up comedy and be just as funny. Unfortunately, when his set was not going as well at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, he completely lost his mind and just buried his career. I guess someone heckled him from the back, and then he just went on this tirade by screaming racial slurs and attacking the audience. It was so bad that a large majority of the crowd just got up and left the club in the middle of his act. He was never able to redeem himself after this racist rant either, and it will serve as a stark reminder that Kramer was probably never cool.
Every time I see this backdrop, I think about Kramer up.
Coming in at number 10, Steve Harvey.
I have to apologize. The first runner-up is Colombia. Miss Universe 2015 is Philippines.
Back in 2015, many watched in awe as Steve Harvey made one of the greatest blunders in television history. Steve incorrectly announced that the winner of the Miss Universe contest was Colombia. As the celebration was happening, and right as she was getting crowned though, you just see poor Steve Harvey tuck his tail between his legs and march back out to correct his mistake. It was definitely hard to watch, but man, you gotta commend Steve for owning up to his mistakes like that. Realizing that Miss Philippines was the actual winner, he came back out and corrected it without even blaming anyone for his mistake. Although he might have said something about the teleprompter being wrong. But before we hit our next point though, we need you guys to hit that like button because it really helps us out. And with that out of the way, let's keep going. Coming in at number 9, Pamela Anderson. I don't know if she was wasted or what, but right from the very beginning of this interview in 2006 with comedian John Rove McManus, it was a disaster. Upon her introduction, she came running out with more energy than that time that Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch, which we might get to later. Pamela greeted the crowd with a hair flip and then proceeded to toss a handful of green candy into the crowd. Candy that she had plucked from a bowl on the table at the interview.
By the sounds of things.
Although the real nail in her coffin was the drama that led up to this bizarre interview with the former Baywatch star. According to John, the show runs live and Pamela was late, so he actually had to start the show before she was even in the building. When she finally did show up, she really seemed like she was doing everything to hurry up the process and get out of there. Multiple times he genuinely asked her if she was okay, but that only made things more awkward. Coming in at number 8, Mariah Carey. Look, Mariah Carey can definitely sing. There's no question about that. However, this does not make her immune from copping out time to time and lip syncing, you know, just for fun. Right off the top, during her 2017 New Year's Eve performance, you can tell that she's lip singing, but when the music transitions and she comes down to the main stage, the sound tech accidentally plays the wrong song. Whoops. I don't know if this was just an error or if someone was really trying to expose Mariah like that, but damn. My favorite part comes later on after she tells the crowd that they picked the wrong song, and as she's talking, like mid-sentence, you can hear her trademark whistle note in the background. It's just perfect live TV. I know Mariah Carey still obviously has a career, but I had to include it because apparently she got paid close to $3.5 million to lip sync her New Year's Eve performance. I guess you could say more than one ball was dropped that night. Coming in at number 9, Vanilla Ice. Way back in 1999, before Jon Stewart was the host of The Daily Show, he was hosting a program on the set of MTV called MTV's Lame 25. On the show, the host would typically make fun of different music videos that had already aired on MTV, and then they would destroy the tape. On one episode in particular, rapper Vanilla Ice came in at number 9 with his song Ice Ice Baby. The rapper was in the studio at the time of the criticisms, and he was planning to take to the set with a baseball bat and break the tape for his own song as per MTV's request. However, things didn't go exactly as planned. The jokes and comments must have really started to bug Vanilla Ice because he didn't just break the tape. Vanilla Ice took that baseball bat to the entire set, smashing everything and scaring everyone in the process. Luckily, he was able to bounce back from this by reinventing himself as a DIY superstar on different home improvement networks, but I don't know if that's much better. I mean, how ironic though would it be for MTV to call up Vanilla Ice and have him rebuild their set that he destroyed? I think that'd be pretty great. We should do that. We should organize that. Who has to start a GoFundMe? Because Vanilla Ice is going to need to get paid to do that. You're like, don't you mean a change.org? No, GoFundMe to get him to do this. Coming in at number 5, Tom Cruise. It was the couch jump that truly rocked Hollywood and a side of the action hero Tom Cruise that we had never witnessed before. In short, it was a meltdown over passion for his newest love interest, Katie Holmes. At the time, Tom Cruise was one of the biggest celebrities in America, and he was already an established leading man with roles such as Top Gun and Jerry Maguire under his belt. He was appearing on the Oprah Winfrey Show to promote his upcoming movie, which was Steven Spielberg's remake of War of the Worlds. However, instead of staying on script for his promo material, he could not stop gushing over his new girlfriend. Within 15 minutes of the interview, Tom had leapt onto Oprah's couch as Oprah struggled to find the words for his over-the-top infatuation. In the moment, it was this very heartwarming thing to see, but in hindsight, people watching that clip only see Tom acting out of school for an interview. So by all accounts, and without hearing the audience's reaction, this was categorized as one of Tom's biggest TV meltdowns. Coming in at number 3, Sinead O'Connor. In 1992, Sinead O'Connor was invited to be the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. Had she just stuck to her usual routine, this performance could have ended much differently. However, instead of doing that, she decided to go down a very weird downward spiral that was all captured on live television. Nearing the end of her performance, O'Connor pulls out a photo of Pope John Paul II and slowly begins to rip the picture in half. She did this while saying, "Fight the real enemy." Shortly thereafter, she was banned from ever appearing on the show again, probably because when they were doing rehearsals, this little number was not included. You can't surprise people like that, especially Lorne Michaels. That's it, you're out of here, kid. That's my Lorne Michaels impression. Coming in at number 2, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen is the polar opposite of what you should do when pursuing a career in Hollywood. He carries with him a terrible offset and on-set reputation, and the debacle that he went through in 2011 even led to his contract termination from the show 2.5 Men. For a while, he was all over the news for everything from substance abuse, domestic violence, and even when he revealed that he was HIV positive. With his history of flying off at the drop of a hat and trying to get people fired who speak ill of him, Sheen had a very difficult time trying to rebuild his career. Although it's hard to put a pin on one interview in particular that really ended Sheen's career, there are certainly a bevy of bizarre ones to choose from. Perhaps the worst was when he was on the Today Show for a very candid conversation.
People that aren't special, people that don't have tiger blood and, Adonis DNA.
Strong people have relapsed. Strong people have started using again. How do you avoid that?
Fools.
Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Billy Bob Thornton. As great as a career that old Billy Bob has had as an actor, he is also in a band called the Boxmasters. Although oddly enough, whenever he does interviews now, he insists that they only talk about the band and never even bring up his acting career. I mean, how could you do that? It's really weird considering how prolific this guy was as an actor. You'd think if the interviewer was a fan of his, it would be really disappointing to get this demand before starting your conversation with him. Hey, you know that thing you really love about me? Yeah, don't talk about that. Not at all. I don't want to hear your questions. The biggest blow up that was viewed as one of his most awkward interviews was when he and his band were on a show called Q for CBC in Canada. The interviewer tried his best to talk to Billy, but he always answered in a confusing way, which left the band feeling even more awkward to answer the questions for him. I mean, take a look.
I wasn't instructed to. I'm not really instructed. You guys are here as a band. You're performing, but
the producer was instructed.
Right,
so, but somewhere along the way.
I actually can't believe that he just told the interviewer how he was instructed not to call his music career a hobby. No wonder this guy has had like 5 different marriages. God, get it together, Billy Bob Thornton.